Right. I think we'll get started. Our sincere apologies for the delay. We're clearly waiting on people who genuinely can't make it. However, thank you for your patience. On behalf of the Global Council for Promotion of International Trade and our partners, it is my honor to welcome all of you, distinguished guests, industry leaders, and change makers from across the globe, to the Global Business Services Summit 2025, a platform where innovation, talent, and global collaboration converge. We're privileged to open a summit today in the presence of an extraordinary lineup of leaders who are shaping the future of digital economies, innovation, and international partnerships. Thank you for being here. I'd like to specially welcome, to light our lamp this morning, Dr. Ivan Jose, Director of Manipal Academy of Higher Education, a visionary academic leader shaping innovation at MAHE. If you could come up, sir. In Bangalore, representing one of India's most dynamic and forward-looking international partners. A warm welcome as well to Mr. Adarsh Holavanahali, India Business Head at Heart Prince Venture IGT Solutions at Philips, whose leadership is at the intersection of talent, technology, and transformation. Welcome Mr. Subha Mahata, Vice President, Talent Accelerator at KDEM, whose work in developing future-ready talent pipelines and empowering young professionals is vital to Karnataka's global competitiveness. And finally, a warm welcome to Mr. Adarsh Latika, Founder and CEO of Anatomy of Work, a leader in redefining productivity ecosystems. Thank you. Mr. Ivan Jose, if I may ask you to have a few words, please.
Very good morning and welcome to this August occasion. Myself, Dr. Ivan, Director, MIT Bangalore here. Very proud to be present here amidst well-renowned colleagues who are here. At the same time, other invited delegates all across Bangalore and other parts of our nation. While I stand here, I am equally thrilled to give an insight of the topic which is mentioned with regards to the Global Council for Promotion of Global Trades, how academia can actually pave a pathway in terms of the next gen requirements. And I think this is something which is very dear to me And we've been looking forward from MAHE as a group to identify what are areas that from the education sector or an academia sector we would be able to contribute. While we are all aware of the AI boom, and I'm sure everyone is, the moment the word AI gets into picture, everybody has their eyebrows up. Yes, my institution is also AI geared, it's AI powered. While it's good to have, and while it's good to adopt these jargons and having implemented, there is a very big caution put in front of us in terms of how is AI preparedness going to disrupt the entire global economy, particularly with regards to the nation. And I say profoundly for India as a nation because we've been used to services and we've been used to BPOs and IPOs industries where majority of this work is getting disrupted, and over the next 3 to 5 years, you would see how the job opportunities which are going to actually prevail from here would get in itself some level of disharmony. Now, having said that, it's also important for me to know, or rather mention, how would we look at as an economy which is forward-looking and forward-thinking and look forward for the next curve, which is 5 to 10 years from now, where India as a nation not only would want to progress in that direction, but also would like to be market leaders. Now, to understand this analogy, what I would like to bring about is, what are our investment strategies or investments plans at this point in time in the country? They're primarily driven across service industry, number one. Number two, financial capitals, where you see investors coming on board and identifying what are the short-term gains which I can actually promulgate into, and then look at the derivatives coming back from there, or derivables coming out from there in a very short span of time. Now, this is one biggest hiccup that our country would face. Now, what is an alternative? The alternative is people would slightly be scared or ideally did not want to move into it in early phases, but I think it's time for us to pitch into it, and the alternative is the manufacturing industrialization. And I believe if people seated down here, the national leaders, the global leaders, if we are able to pitch in and make a very, very, resounding fact of the fact that we are able to move into this sector very, very proactively and identify that how, as a country, we would be able to gear up to this next level of the curve, which the entire globe is looking forward for. Now, when we talk about industrialization in manufacturing, didn't we have this? The answer was yes. Did we promote it? The answer is a bit dicey. So what do I mean by being promoting? When we have our own SMEs and MSMEs coming up on the floor, how does the country handhold them or take them to the next level in terms of nurturing the grassroots level SMEs and MSMEs? Now, this is a lot more. I'm not getting into the details of it. We can move around and identify how the globe has actually retracted to this, or rather been very powerfully encouraged, especially with South Korea as a test case, or maybe China as a test case. There's several, test cases or pilot runs in front of us. Let's not get into it. But my perception from the academia is something what I would like to put across here. We're looking at academia for the next curve. And what's that? That's in the compute power. And India, if we need to pick ourselves onto the global stature, we have to gear up. We've already missed the AI buzz, but we shouldn't miss the next level quantum buzz. And I think this is a big call for every individual seated down here. If we gear up, we can definitely match up to the level of what the globe today is looking forward for. We are not too backward in this run. If I have to look at the global infrastructure, we're just about 8 to 10 years lag. But appropriately, if you are able to pitch in and see how we can match up with the faults and the flaws the globe has actually identified, we would be able to pick up this race much ahead of time, and also looking at being frontiers in this area. Now, what's the roadmap? The roadmap is very clear. If India is able to get into manufacturing, onto the supply chain of entire quantum computing infrastructure. So often see as individuals, the moment this term quantum computing or quantum technology is uttered, we always misconceptualize them to a level to compute power. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the whole country getting geared up for the supply chain of quantum. Today, if you ask me, if India needs to have a center in place, whom do we resort to? Not a single Indian company. We would resort to the West. Either we resort to European countries or to United States. And what has gone in there? It's not about how this compute power can be explored in the global scenario, but how do you have preparedness towards having this so-called as qubits formally be delivered, identified, strengthened, and utilize them as a powerful tool over years to come in terms of having the whole conglomeration of this compute made available under one roof. It's not a ball game for one individual company, one institution, or one nation. It's a collective effort of the globe to unify how this compute power can be synergized. And I think this is where we have, as an individual, companies or SMEs or MSMEs have a responsibility in terms of promoting this manufacturing culture in the country. Look at that next curve of 10 years to 15 years ahead in time now. Look at who are the major players in the country. For your information, we have none in the country. Today, if we need to institute a center, we do not have a single vendor in the country who can say that, yes, I can come and deliver either the dilution refrigerators or the electronics, the control electronics, which goes supportive to this whole technology, or for that matter, the entire development of softwares. To an extent, we are putting our hands in how simulators and softwares can be developed, but nowhere in the other two spaces. And I think this is a big learning curve for us, and I'm sure this forum that we are in here would definitely pave a pathway in terms of how our country as a whole can progress in this next curve, and which we should not miss out. With that note, I formally thank you for giving me this opportunity to be present here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I may call Mr. Pierre Baudon, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. So I'm the economic attaché at the Consulate General of France here in Bangalore, and I will deliver a few words on behalf of the Consul General. First, good morning, and thanks a lot to Manipal University and to all the partners for this beautiful event. As I was preparing this speech, I realized something simple. It has now been almost 2 years since I arrived in Bangalore, 2 years, and I think this city still continues to impress me. If I make a small comparison, we can see that Bangalore has roughly the same population as Paris, and Karnataka has the same population as France globally. So while Bangalore and Paris have similar population, what matters to me is something they share, a strong culture of innovation. Two regions with very different histories, but a common belief that talent, research, and technology shape the future. And this is exactly why Karnataka is such a relevant place to talk about the evolution of Global Businesses Center and GCCs. Over the last 2 years, I've seen Bangalore becoming far more than a technology hub. It has become a global coordination point for our French companies, a place where companies design products, run critical functions, and imagine what the next decade will look like. So the numbers speak for themselves. You know, like over 2,000 GCCs and GBS centers are active in Karnataka, accounting for more than 40% of India's GBS workforce. Few regions in the world can claim this density of engineering and digital expertise. And France is deeply connected to this landscape. In Karnataka, only more than 200 French companies are operating, and many of them manage global responsibilities from here. If I take a few examples, we do have here Decathlon running its digital backbone from Asia from Bangalore, EXA driving global cybersecurity and AI capabilities from here, Capgemini pushing cloud, data, and quantum work forward with its Bangalore teams. Schneider Electric's testing smart grid concept in Bangalore before scaling them worldwide. Dassault Systèmes building digital twins and simulations tool here that support entire sectors from the world. This isn't support work, it's global work, core, strategic, high value. And the momentum between France and India continues to grow. 2 weeks ago, in Telangana, in Hyderabad, not Karnataka this time, but we inaugurated Safran new civil aircraft MRO, the largest in the world. A strong 200 million euro signal of long-term commitment reinforced by word from Prime Minister Modi himself, make in India easier to stay, and French companies are fully part of it. Across aerospace, mobility, energy, design, and manufacturing, our companies are investing, producing, training, and building capabilities locally and for the long term. And we are also seeing a steady rise in French high-level visits to Bangalore. Ministers, CEO, major researchers, deep tech delegation, you name it, they all want to understand what's happening here, to meet the people driving this transformation, and to build concrete partnership. Last week, we had the pleasure of welcoming Ms. Anne Bouvreau, the French President's Special Envoy on AI. Her conclusion after meeting AI founders, researchers, and GCC leaders was very clear. To understand the global future of AI, you must look at Bangalore. Our close collaboration with the government of Karnataka and with our friends at KDM is central to this. And Karnataka is much more than Bangalore. We learned it after 2 years of working here. For example, you have Mysore strengthening its position in education, software, and deep tech. You have Bangalore also emerging in fintech, healthcare, maritime tech. And at the consulate, we actively encourage French companies to explore this city because the next wave of Karnataka growth, it's already taking shape there. And this dynamic is also visible at the Bangalore Tech Summit, where France is present every day, and we try to bring delegation every day to show the concrete cooperation between France and India in very added value and strategic sectors. And all of this reflects, to conclude, a broader reality. The France-India partnership has reached a level of trust and ambition we have rarely seen. It now spans defense, space, cybersecurity, clean energy, digital public infrastructure, semiconductors, and increasingly artificial intelligence. Earlier this year, 2025, we had the pleasure to co-host with India the AI Action Summit in Paris, France, and we are already building the next edition together, not only in Delhi, but also in Bangalore. And in 2026, the Indo-French share of innovation will give even more space to collaboration, science, technology, and talent. Since from this perspective, the transformation of GBS becomes very clear. They are no longer operational units. They are becoming global decision hubs, digital engines, and places where new solutions are designed. They are taking the lead on global functions, setting standards, and shaping long-term strategy. And French companies completely recognize this. They are not expanding here for cost reasons only, but because Karnataka is building the capabilities that will matter most in the coming decade: AI, engineering, quantum, sustainability, digital twins, and design. And they find here something rare: exceptional talents, dense innovation network, a strong academic ecosystem, and institutions like KDM that truly drive collaboration. So looking ahead, I'm convinced that France and India can take a leading role in shaping the next evolution of the GBS sector. Let me conclude. The world is changing fast. Some regions adapt, others take the lead. Karnataka has clearly made its choice. For France, it's an honor to work with this ecosystem, to learn from it, to build with it, and to imagine the future together. As we approach this Indo-Frontier of Innovation 2026, many things are coming. New delegation, new joint programs, new events, new collaboration on AI, on clean technology, on global industry transformation. And this is only the beginning. So thank you, vive l'Inde, vive la France, and long live our shared commitment to innovation. Thank you.
I understand, Mr. Ivan Jose, you have to leave us very quickly. So if I may call Mr. Santosh Ganesh over, whose birthday it happens to be today. So happy birthday, Mr. Santosh, to hand over a memento.
This is not, we are already running.
It's what we do, 5 minutes, to hand over a memento as well. Very quickly, since we're running late, if I may call Mr. Adarsh Hulanamali, please. Sorry, I messed your name up a bit.
Great to be here, great to have this opportunity to talk to all of you. I'd like to, instead of telling you what to do, I'd like to share a little bit about the experience that we had running the program in Philips Hopefully, it's inspiring enough for you to learn something from it and innovate better. And so I have been called here to talk about resilience, sustainability. And so when I actually took the job at Philips, which was around 4 years ago, I had just come from a bunch of startups. And Philips told me, why don't we look at the heart problem at scale? And at that point of time, Philips was a leader in cath labs. They own around 50% of the cath labs in the world, which, where they put the stent in. And I took a long look at the market and said, okay, you guys own the market already. What else can we do? We can't do much. That's when I started looking at why should the individual end up in the cath lab to start with, right? So the problem is how we look at ourselves and how the market looks at us. And therein lies the opportunity for all of us. So when you start looking at what sustains you, then you start understanding how sustainable you can be, and if so, how sustainable the planet can be, right? So I'm going to talk that story through with a few pictures. This is the health footprint of India today. So if you look at the top numbers, right, they apply to all of us in this room at an average. We may not all be doing this. It's kind of staggering. Huh? So if you're saying that as a people we are doing 100 pills a day across India, it's a ridiculous number. Right? If you go to one of these areas, maybe Sanjay Nagar or Saka Nagar, you will be surprised to know that 100,000 aspirins a month is what is being sold, right, in that area. So it kind of gives you an idea of what I am talking about when I talk sustainability. We are already unsustainable as a people. So what does it boil down to? 350 million people in India who can get a premature incident. 350 million, by the way, is around half the adult population. Every man, woman in India has a potential for this. Includes me, includes you, right? So that's not a great thing, but there's a positive also here, and I'll come to that. So we ourselves, we have a interesting contraption called the Heartprint services, which we actually use the smartphone. Put your finger on the smartphone camera, and we do a whole bunch of things with it. What we did was we built an early warning program based on the smartphone. Don't need anything else. And why early warning? Because sustainability today cannot be built without me telling you years ahead of time what can happen and then what you can do, right? Stitch in time saves 9. That was the principle that we went after. So if you look at the data on the right, let's compare that to a bunch of cars that you buy, right? A car that requires regular maintenance, a car that doesn't have fuel, the car that's not very efficient, a car that kind of stops and goes, is what this data reflects on the right. And how many of us would buy these cars? Not many, right? I think it's time to ask some tough questions to our maker and probably to our unmaker as well as we go along. But the key thing to remember here is, and I'll ask a question to the audience, right? When I say heart, what is the first thing that comes to you? Please don't tell me it's heart attack. What should ideally come to you is heart is your engine. It's a core that makes you go, mentally and physically, and vice versa as well. If you take care of this engine, it's got to have great fuel, and it's got to have great mileage, right? And you have both, you're going to do great things for a great period of time. That applies to an individual, it applies to a company, it applies to colleges, it applies to everything else. And that's the reason I'm here today talking about it. So if you look at what is happening today, right? The quality of life, which is about income, it's about relationships, it's about career goals that you have, it's about a whole bunch of things that you do for yourself, steadily dropping. This is not a nice thing for any of us, right? And some of us will be able to fight it and some of us won't. And there lies the tragedy of all of this, right? So to put this data into perspective, I want to lean upon a Sanskrit word. It's called Ojas Tejo Dutidaraha. It's a very popular word in the Vishnu Sahasranama, if you have ever heard it. Ojas is strength, Tejas is brilliance, and Dyuti is radiance, right? So the one who bears all of this. What is the lesson for us here? It is energy. At the end of the day, there is energy in the body. It's a evidence of vitality or fatigue, whichever way you look upon it. Cynical, you look at it as fatigue. Positive, you look at it as vitality. If you keep up your vitality, wonderful things can be done. Right? At an individual level, at an organizational level, at a country level. And the key to note is how to keep that vitality up. More precise testing, more interventions is not going to cut it for you. Let's be clear, it's only going to fix a temporary problem. A long-term solution to our lives is to take hold of it ourselves. You know more about yourself, know what makes you tick, then you'll do the right thing for yourself at all points of time. So now coming to workforces, because that's what all of us are, whether we are in a company or otherwise. See, a typical workforce is modeled like this. You stratify people into different health, do a bunch of calculations, whole lot of indices that you create, and then you come out with scores at the bottom, right? All of us are aware of this. Unfortunately, to say, this came from the clinical world, and a whole lot of us have taken this to heart along the way. What if we looked at people a little differently? What if I looked at how much energy you're producing, how much energy you're consuming? If I looked at how efficient you are as a person, and then put it all together to see how much fatigue you have in the body, and I will explain why fatigue later. Then that becomes, I can now model people as just an electricity meter. All of us in this room are actually consuming or producing power. I can say, how many kilowatt hours of energy are you really rolling out? And why is that important? It tells me how healthy you are, it tells me how productive you are, it tells me what you can do with challenges. Right? And so that's the spirit of what I want to do. So the number one ignored symptom in the world is fatigue. All of us are used to it. All of us become used to it by popping pills or just not resting enough and not realizing where we are going. But the bottom line is that very fatigue that you see starts creating small little issues as you go forward. That same fatigue will start encouraging diseases to take a shot at you. The same fatigue will ensure that you're diabetic or hypertensive or whatever other disease that you get. And the very same fatigue will one day prevent you from reacting to a sudden demand that is made on your body, right? And that is when you have an adverse incident. And this fatigue is key. And that's why I said you can look at it as fatigue or vitality. I'll just hold your patience for 2 more minutes. So this is, my education 101 for you as far as the heart is concerned. Heart is really at a well-being level. When you look at heart, it's made up of these 5 things, which is what energy you have, how much efficient you are, how stable you are, whether you are suffering some distress or not. What is your max potential? Max potential is like brake horsepower in your vehicles, right? And then, of course, stability. Now, all of these can foretell a lot of things, right? The negative connotations are pretty obvious. So if you look at some of these things, when you're in high distress, then typically you're not working right. And if you're emotionally in distress, your heart is in distress too, right? It tells you that in this world, everything is connected. Whatever I do will affect everybody else, and whatever everybody does will affect me as well. And that's similar to the heart, except that here the rest of the system is affecting the heart, or the heart is affecting the rest of the system. And so there are great positives as well that you can use the heart to go for. Any goals that you have, keep listening to your heart. At any point of time, I always keep telling people of this famous story of Sir M. Visheshwaraya when he slept in a train at midnight and just yanked the chain and stopped the train and said, hey, there's a disruption in the track 3 kilometers down the line. How did he do it? You can call it intuition, I call it listening. You listen. And when you listen, you learn. You don't need sensors for this, right? So we actually think that the heart is the key to everything that you do today. And as youngsters, I'm sure you'll take this lesson to heart. It's worked for me. Right? How you can do a lot of wonderful things with the heart. You can see how much you're going to spend. The most important thing is whether you're gaining or losing time. Such an alien concept, right? All of us think we are mortal, but we don't think how long we are going to run with it. And that is the key. I'll not spend too much time on this. There are other people waiting. But what we do to educate people, to convert people, is we put up a giant clock. We take all of you to scan, and we actually count the amount of time that an organization has gained or lost over per hour or per day, which is a very powerful argument. And if that doesn't convince you, nothing else will. But this is something that we learned, right? And I come from a clinical background from Philips. Many of us were trying to cut you open and fix you, but that's not what we did here. And finally, to kind of cap all of this, we go to companies, we go to academia, we go to all places that we can think of, and we're planning to go to neighborhoods as well. And we run a program called the Green Heart Program, where we ask people to register. We have millions of reference profiles that we figure out how you as an individual look like without even doing anything else. And then we make you scan and show you where you actually belong. We're able to create a health brand for companies, for neighborhoods, or even apartments, if you think about it, just by using the heart. So for me, the lesson is not in what I did. We are doing other things. But the fact that sustainability is not just a buzzword. It's a business word. It's a business-focused word for everybody here and for the world. And I hope all of you take that to heart and innovate way more than what we have done or what we are capable of. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very interesting talk. But on a much lighter heart note, may I ask Mr. Subha Mahata, please, to very quickly speak to us.
Good morning, everyone. So the first question is, what do I speak? The Consul General, Honorable Consul General, he has covered what industry is doing from the services space, from the product space, from the startup space. Then industry colleagues from Philips, they have already shown what technical interventions have been done by taking technology to the green realm and then offering it for the better good. Then the colleague from Mahe, he has already spoken about the upcoming technologies. So I'll not take too much of your time. I'll tell you three different things that we work on. I am from Karnataka Digital Economy Mission. So this is a special purpose vehicle which works with a group of corporate leaders. And we try to build policy for the government. So while building this policy, we look at three different things. The first is access. The second is approachability. And the third is the practical ways to implement these policies. So if you check, recently we have come up with the IT policy, the startup policy, the GCC policy. Probably I'll not say that this is the first in the country, but we are very aggressive to bring them to the front. So that's on the policy part. Now coming to this particular business summit, thanks to Santosh for this opportunity first. I think that we needed much more people, but we have a few of them. But of course, limited audience is also meaningful audience. This is what I believe. So in Karnataka Digital Economy Mission, the latest happenings which has happened was, if you have heard about Elevate Karnataka, somebody knows Elevate Karnataka, put up your hand. Anybody knows Elevate Karnataka? Only one person. So Elevate Karnataka is an initiative by the government wherein we encourage startups which are at the idea phase to come to us, seek funds up to 50 lakhs, and these funds are given to them in terms of equity. So why did I bring the Elevate part? Because this time we have seen that the lion's share of the startups which has come into the Elevate bucket belongs to the deep tech realm. So this is how the deep tech startups have mushroomed in Karnataka, which gives us a lot of confidence in the ecosystem as well. That of course there is technology, of course there is talent. My charter is talent. So that's the first thing. The second interesting thing is we are going very aggressive from the DEI front. So if you look at this Elevate figures, 40% of the Elevate winners are women-led startups. So that's one thing. And the third thing is sustainability. How many of you have celebrated 18th of August 2025? Can you put up your hands? If you know what happened. You know, Nandan? No? Something else? Okay, so as we speak about sustainability and green energy, as you know that Karnataka operates at a scale of 60% renewable. So this year, on 18th of August 2025, the state met 80% of its domestic power consumption through renewable. So that's what has happened. So the first, the first in this was wind, followed by hydro, and the third was solar. So that's the kind of vibrant ecosystem we have been building over here. And being a quasi-government, since Karnataka Digital Economy Mission is a part of the Ministry of Information Technology and Biotechnology, being a quasi-government, we also work on SOW first and then SOP. So for us, the SOW is SOW. When I say SOW, of course, the statement of work is skills of workmanship is what we try to build. And the SOP for us is to build a strait of prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Adarsh Latika, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I will be speaking on the topic Beyond Burnout, Engineering a Culture of Holistic Wellbeing and Resilience. When we wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that we do? In today's world, what we do is that we reach out to hand fetch where the mobile phone is, check out the notifications. It could be the late night emails we would have received, the Instagram notifications, what happens in LinkedIn, the news. By the time we get out of the bed, our attention has already been hijacked. And when we do the commute to the office, the traffic, especially if you're coming from a city like Bangalore or Delhi, the traffic could be stressful that by the time we reach the office, we are down on our energy. In fact, most of them walk into the office with negative energy. And at the workplace, we are right now on something called as always on expectation, wherein which we are always expected to be on calls, we are expected to be on meetings, expected to respond to Slack messages late in the night, respond to emails over the weekend, take calls. The organizations are expecting much more output from employees, whereas the humans can only do so much. The burnout, therefore, is not a surprise. The burnout is actually quite predictable. Around 59% of Indian workforce have reported burnout as per a recent study, and it's the highest among the world. And 50% of the people have also reported that the biggest contributor to burnout is actually workplace-related stress. As per the same study, which was released like a couple of days ago, India is likely to lose around a little over $1 trillion by 2030. And what the study says is that if you're able to redesign the workplace with human as a center, we may be able to recover some of the loss at around $350 billion per year. Now, we have been told that AI is the answer to productivity for everything that we do and we don't do. But the fact is that when AI adoption increases, what it does is that it increases the pace of work. And as the pace of work increases, it increases the expectations that people have from the team. And when the expectation increases, it widens the gap in the exhaustion. Now, what can companies do about this? What do we do? So I had a colleague of mine. We both of us were in the system for more than 10 years. And one day in the morning when I reached office, I was told that he was hospitalized, undergoing a very urgent surgery on kidney stone. So in fact, he was traveling overnight the night before, but he was in hospital the next day morning. And when I met him, when he recovered after his recovery, and we were speaking about the entire 1 week. What he realized after being in the system for 10 years was that the company offered preventive annual health checkup free for all the employees. He wasn't aware. And this is true for most organizations. It is true for most EAPs, employee assistance programs which are run. The utilization is very low. In fact, data says that less than 5%. And this is a result of poor communication, stigma, and mistrust which comes in associated with EAPs. Now, what we see is that there's a huge gap between awareness and action, that is regarding employee assistance program which happens in the companies. The second part to realize is that when workplace contributes to 50% of overall burnout that an individual undergoes, what does the rest of the 50% come from? From where does it come from? If you had to study what happens in our daily life from the time we get up to the time we go to bed, stuff like financial, managing your finance or your health, desire to eat right in the right way, the managing relationships, managing emotions, all of them build up and add up to this overall burnout that we face at the end of the day. Now, despite the fact that all these are contributing factors outside of work, they all impact the key part, which is focus, attention, and therefore productivity and performance at work. And therefore, when organizations are looking at workplace initiatives to improve well-being, we should also be considering the fact that there is a part of innovation that needs to go outside of work into the personal life of the individual in a very good way, not in the intrusive manner. So the stress is cumulative, as I said. The attention fragmentation is important. So what is that we can do? What as the organizational culture becomes very key component to drive the change or drive the behavior in the right way. The leaders should show show from their side what, like for example, going home on the right time, showing a better work-life balance, eating right, taking vacation, taking that de-stressing moments at this whenever appropriate, so that the stigma associated with being on the go all the time, which typically the entry-level and mid-level workforce do, can actually go away. Because the culture is not something that human resource as a department can fix. It is the leadership which will establish the boundaries in which all the empathy, the psychology, safety, and everything else are built in, which the other employees can follow. So it's not about fixing people by appointing counselors or psychologists at work. It's also about establishing the right resilience frameworks that are sustainable, also not only at work, but also outside work. So the culture should be a safety net, not the last resort for employees. Once we position well-being in this manner, suddenly the well-being initiatives stop being an expense. It becomes an investment which can lead to clear ROI. And when the wellness or the well-being activities are done in the best possible way, it leads to an agile workforce, an innovative workforce, and very importantly, a workforce who want to be there at work. And in an AI-first world, this is a very critical strategic asset that any organization can have. As closing, burnout is the invoice you get when culture ignores how humans are designed. Culture is not something that you assume or take for granted. It is something that needs to be engineered, something that needs to be invested in with precision and with purpose. And once organization should provide the right environment where which resilient structures can be built in as habit, both at work and outside. And when we decide for human energy, clarity, and support, employees don't just walk in to work, they don't just check in and check out at the end of the day, they actually thrive. Thank you.
If I may call Mr. Santosh to please give our speakers a small memento as thank you for your time and your patience, definitely. Mr. Pierre Bordeaux. Mr. Adarsh. Mr. Subha Mahata. And Mr. Adarsh Latika. Thank you so much. Thank you.